Okay, we're back. This is section 4.2. We're going to talk about the simplex method. And what we did in the first section, and this is the important thing, is going back to the furniture problem. So you start out with your inequalities in your profit function. We change them into equations where you have these slack variables, u, v, w, and then m is not necessarily a slack variable, but it's something we use. And then we change that into matrix form. So from there, I'm going to show you this method. And so here's my matrix, and I want to be able to solve that. So bear with me, and I'm going to show you the same things in the book, but my words are going to be a little different, and I think you'll like them. Okay, so step one, look at the bottom row down here, and look at the negative numbers. Do you have any negatives? Yes, you do. You got negative 80 and negative 70. You want the one, what I say is the biggest negative, and that would be right here. And when I say the biggest negative, I'm saying the number that is more negative than anything else. So negative 80 is more negative than this. And in truthfulness, negative 70 is a bigger number than negative 80, but that's not what I'm saying. By finding the biggest negative, what you've done is you have identified the pivot column. Our pivot will be somewhere in there. And this is what's different from Gaussian. Gaussian, we always start in that upper left-hand corner. With the simplex method, you don't. Okay, now we're going to go over here and we're going to find what are called the ratios. You're going to take the n number here, which is 96, and you're going to divide it by the number over here inside the box, which is 6. Now, I say it that way because sometimes the box is here or there, and you got to go by where the box is. Okay, so 96 divided by 6, that is 16. On the second row, it's 18 divided by 1, that's 18. And the third row is 72 divided by 2, and that's going to be 36. Now, these three numbers, 16, 18, and 36, you want the smallest positive. Here I had the biggest negative, now I want the smallest positive. I'll look every once in a while, make sure I'm still on the paper. So out of that, that tells you 16 is that number. So that tells me the top row is my pivot row. So you got a pivot column and a pivot row, and then this number, the 6, is where we're going to end up putting the pivot. One more thing before I go back. I did not do the last row because if I did, it's 0 divided by that. That's always going to be 0. That's never going to be a possibility, so I never do the bottom one. Okay, so the next step is we got to get a 1 there. So we're going to take 1/6 times row 1. We'll try to go nice and easy so I don't get all messy and everything. So 1/6 of 6 is 1. I'm going to circle it because it's going to become my pivot. 1/6 of 3, that's 3 over 6 or a half. 1/6 of 1 is 1/6. 1/6 of 0 is 0. 1/6 of 0 is 0. 1/6 of 0 is 0. And 1/6 of 96, we already did that. That's going to be 16. These other rows stay the same, so all I'm going to do is just copy the numbers. I might suggest, it doesn't really matter how you copy them, but try to do it so it's easy on yourself and you keep everything organized. Okay, now you're going to know what's next. The next step. We got a 1. You want to get some zeros. Top row is going to stay the same. To get a 0 here, I'm going to take negative row 1 plus row 2. Put my answers in row 2. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Negative 1/2 and 1 is 1/2. Negative 1/6 and 0 is negative 1/6. 0 and 1 is 1. And I got 0 and 0. Negative 16 plus 18 is going to be 2. Now I'm going to work on the 2. So I'm going to take negative 2 times row 1 plus row 3. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2 plus positive 2 is 0. Negative 2 times 1/2 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 6 is 5. Negative 2 times 1/6 is negative 2/6, or 1/3, and 1/3 it's actually negative 1/3, plus 0 is negative 1/3. Then you can have 0 and 0 is 0. 0 and 1 is 1. 0 and 0 is 0. And then this is going to be negative 2 times that. That's negative 32 plus 72 is 40. And then the bottom row, we're going to take 80 times row 1 plus row 4. 80 times 1 is 80 plus negative 80 is 0. 80 times 1/2 would be 40. 40 plus negative 70 is negative 30. 80 times 1 over 6, that's 80 over 6, or 40 over 3. 80 times 0 is 0 plus 0 is 0. 80 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. 80 times 0 is 0 plus 0 is 0. And 80 times 16 is 1,280, plus 0 is 1,280. Okay, I have just finished what they call an iteration. You'll see that in the book. An iteration basically is a cycle. A cycle means you get a 1 and then you get some zeros. Then you start over again. You get a 1, you get some zeros. Then you start over again. You get a 1 and get a 0. After every iteration, you need to look down below and see if you're done. So, if you have any negatives in the bottom row, then you're not done. When you get to a point there are no negatives, then you are done and you can come up with your answers. So obviously, my biggest negative here is the only one that's negative. So that tells me this column becomes my pivot column. And then we go over here and we want to come up with the ratios. So I've got 16 over 1/2. That's going to be 32. We just come off to the side here. So if I was doing this one, this would be 16 divided by 1/2. So 16 times, remember how you invert multiply, 16 times 2 gives you 32. Okay, when I go to this next one, it's 2 divided by 1/2. 2 divided by 1/2. So that's 2 times 2, which is 4. So this number is going to be 4. 40 divided by 5 is 8. And then we don't even do the bottom one. I told you that before. So where the 4 is, run out of room there. Where the 4 is, that's your smallest positive. So that tells you the second row is the pivot row. And in particular, where that 1/2 is, that's going to become my new pivot. Okay, So top row is going to stay the same. 1, 1/2. I'm really trying to keep this neat. I want to get a 1 here, so I'm going to take 2 times row 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1/2 is 1. That's going to be my new pivot, so I'm going to circle it. 2 times -1/6 is going to be -2/6 or -1/3. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And 2 times 2 is 4. Just happens to be the same number I had right there. And then I'm going to simply copy the last 2 rows because nothing is happening to them. Okay, hope those numbers are all showing up okay for you. We got a 1, now we want to get some zeros. So to get a 0 where the 1/2 is, I've got to take -1/2 times 1 and add. So it's -1/2 times row 2 and add it to row 1. So it's going to be 0 and 1, that's still 1. -1/2 times 1 is -1/2 plus +1/2 is 0. -1/2 times -1/3 is +1/6. 1/6 plus 1/6 is 2/6 or 1/3. -1/2 times 2 is -1. -1 plus 0 is -1. 0 and 0 is 0. 0 and 0 is 0. -1/2 times 4 is -2. -2 plus 16 is going to be 14. I'm overlapping. Didn't mean to do that. Row 2 stayed the same because that's where the pivot was. Now we want to get a 0 where the 5 is. So I'm going to take -5 times row 2, add it to row 3. Put the answers in row 3. Okay, so -5 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is still 0. -5 times 1 is -5, plus +5 is 0. Now it's going to get a little bit dicey. So now I want to take -5 times -1/3. And sometimes I just go off to the side on a piece of scrap paper and I'll write this down. So I got to multiply it times -1/3. And then I've got to add it to -1/3. So that's going to become 5/3 plus -1/3. That's going to be 4/3. And that goes right here. Now I'm going to take -5 times 2, that's -10, plus 0 is -10. That was easy. -5 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. -5 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. And -5 times 4 is -20. -20 and 40 is +20. Okay, need to extend that down a little bit. Now I'm going to go back and get a 0 where the 30 is using the 1, so I'm going to take 30 times row 2 plus row 4. Things are right. This should finish us up. 30 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. 30 times 1 is 30, plus -30 is 0. 30 times -1/3, that's -30 over 3, plus 40 over 3 is 10 over 3. 30 times 2 is 60, 60 plus 0 is 60. 30 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 30 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. And 30 times 4 plus 1,280. That's 120 plus that's going to be 1,400. 1,400. So we just finished our second iteration. I got a 1, 2 zeros. That was the first iteration. Then I got a 1 and zeros here. That's the second iteration. At the end of each iteration, look at the bottom row. Are there any negatives? The answer is no. They're all positives. That's good. That means we're done. Now you're ready to come up with your answer. You need to be able to tell me what x is. You need to be able to tell me what y is. And you need to tell me what that max is. And if there was z, you tell me what z is. Okay, so remember how we talked about here's the x column and the y column? In the x column, find the 1. That 1's right here. That tells me I'm going to look in this row and tell me that x equals 14. In the y column, the 1 is here. Y is going to be 4. And your max is always this number down here in the lower right-hand corner. So what that means is your maximum profit is going to be $1,400, and you're going to achieve that at the point 14, 4. Now, I described this on finding the answers. I said, look at the x column and find the 1. Okay, and it worked out the 1 was in the upper left-hand column, but that 1 could have been anywhere down here. And wherever it would have been, if the 1 would have been here, then my answer would have been 20. If the 1 would have been here, then x would have been 4. Okay, now here's something that's really important. We talk about unit columns. I've never talked to you about that, but this is a unit column because you've got a 1 and everything else is zeros. This is a unit column. This is not. This is not. That one's close, but it's not, and neither is that, neither is that. So a unit column has exactly 1, 1, and the rest of them are zeros. If you have a column that is not a unit column, then that variable is automatically going to be 0. So let's say, what if I would have put a 1 here? That would have gave you 2 1s in that. That means it's not a unit column. That means x would have been 0. Since that is a 0, it is a unit column, and then you read your x's. We'll see more of that in upcoming lessons. Okay. I got another example here. 2 of them, actually. I'm going to change my writing thing, and I hope it shows up. Okay, so it says using the simplex methods, maximize the objective function of 10x plus y subject to the constraints. Okay, so you can see I've got x plus 2y less than or equal to 10, 3x plus 4y less than or equals 6. And of course you have x greater than or equals 0, y greater than or equals 0. Okay, so I'm going to go straight to this. I'm going to set up my matrix. You can see where you got a 1 and a 2, and a 3 and a 4. And then from this, I know down here, see how you got a 10 and a 1? If I went through, this is a shortcut, but if you just take the opposite, you can put those numbers right there. So I had a 10 and a 1, becomes negative 10, negative 1 there. And then if you'll remember, we're going to put in the identity. And then we're going to go put these constants. So I got 10, 6, and 0. Okay, biggest negative. Negative 10 is more negative than anything else. So that tells me your pivot column's right here. your ratios, you're going to have 10 over 1 is 10. And you're going to have 6 over 3, which is 2. 2 is the smallest. There's your pivot row. Where the 3 is, that's going to become my pivot. Okay. So I got 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 10. Top row stays the same. Second row, I'm going to take 1/3 times whatever row 2 is in. 1/3 of 3 is 1. That's going to be my pivot. 1/3 of 4 is 4/3. 1/3 of 0 is 0. 1/3 of 1 is 1/3. 1/3 of 0 is 0. And 1/3 of 6 is 2. Bottom row stays the same. Okay, now I want to get a 0 here. There's my pivot. I got to get a 0. So all I got to do is take negative row 2 plus row 1. So negative 1 and 1 is 0. Negative 4/3, think of that as 6/3. So 6/3 and negative 4/3 is going to be 2/3. 0 and 1 is 1. Negative 1/3 and 0 is negative 1/3. 0 and 0 is 0. And negative 2 and 10 is 8. The second row stays the same because that's where the pivot was. And then the bottom will take 10 times row 2 plus row 1. So 10 times 1 is 10 plus negative 10 is 0. 10 times 4/3. Grip back my scrap piece of paper. So you're going to take 10 times 4/3 and you're going to add it to negative 1. So that's 40 over 3, plus think of that as negative 3 over 3. That's going to be 37 over 3. Then you got 0 plus 0, and get rid of that now. 0 plus 0 is going to be 0. 10 times 1/3 is 10/3. 10/3 plus 0 is 10 over 3. 0 and 1 is 1. 10 times 2 is 20, plus 0 is 20. Okay? So I just finished my iteration. Am I done? Actually, I am. There's no negatives on the bottom, so I'm done. So you should be able to tell me what x is, what y is, and then what your max is. Okay, so when I look at the x's, see where the 1's at? That's going to tell me that x is equal to 2. Look at the y's. What do you notice about the y column? That is not a unit column. Therefore, y is automatically 0. And of course, my max is going to be 20. So that means I have a maximum profit of 20 at the point 2, 0. And we're done. I only had one iteration on that. That was nice. Okay, one more example. Let's see how this goes. Okay, this has got z in it. So we got 1, negative 1, 2, 2, 1, 3. Then we're going to have from here. Oh, I think I miscopied that. Hold on. Yeah, I didn't change that. This is supposed to be x plus 2y plus z. I try to stay with the same examples that they have in the book. I think that helps you become better organized. Okay, so x plus 2y plus z. So down here, this becomes, remember how we took the opposite. So I got negative 1, negative 2, negative 1. And then you're going to have your identity in here. 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. And then the last one, you're going to have 10, 12, and that one's always 0. So that's your initial matrix. And once you have that, you're ready to get started. Okay, biggest negative, right there. Make sure when you're doing your work, put that in there. If you ever ask me to look at it, those are the things I look for. And for you, it's easy to it's easy to look back over your work later on and know what you did. Okay, so this is going to be 10 over -1. That's going to be -10. Then I got 12 over 1. That's going to be 12, and we never look at the bottom one. So your smallest positive is 12. Okay, now notice how I worded it. I said smallest positive. That is not positive. That means that could not be the answer. Okay, so row 2 becomes my pivot row, and in particular, 1 is going to be my pivot. Save me a step. Okay, I don't have to get a 1, I got a 1. So now we want to get a 0 above it. So that's going to be row 2 plus row 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 plus -1 is 0. 3 plus 2 is 5. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. 0 plus 0 is 0. And 12 plus 10 is 22. Second row stays the same because that's where the pivot was. And then to get a 0 where the -2 is, I've got to take 2 times row 2, add it to row 3. Okay, 2 plus -1 is 1. That's nice. I'm sorry. It's 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus -1, that's 3. Got to multiply by 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus -2 is 0. 2 times 3 is 6, plus -1 is 5. That's really nice. 0. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 0 is 2. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. And 2 times 12 is 24. 24 plus 0 is 24. Okay, that worked out really nice. We started out with 3 negatives. How many negatives you got down here now? None. Essentially, we're done. Now you can tell me what x is, what y is, and what's my maximum. So as I look at the x column, what do you notice? That's not a unit column, therefore x is automatically going to be 0. Okay, that was x. Here's y. In the y column, here's the 1. That's a unit column. So it tells you y is equal to 12. And your max, of course, is 24. Your max is always that lower right-hand number. And that happens at 0, 12. Okay, I'm going to quit there. That shows you how to maximize. We'll do more. Of course, these get a little bit tougher each time we go up a notch. So that should take care of you now, and see you next time.